No Film School's coverage of NAB is brought to you by Blackmagic Design, amazing solutions for film, post-production, and television. Big Stock, videos and images for everyone. Color Grading Central, professional color grading with Color Finale. Shutterstock, where ideas take shape.
So I'm here with Andy at the AJA booth, and so you guys have a few new announcements, firmware, and there's also an interesting program where filmmakers will actually get to test their cameras if they want.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we are promoting hashtag Try CION. So that's live on our website now. So if you go to aj.com/Try CION, we have 100 cameras and accessories available. We've pushed forward to generate inventory for this. It's $1 million worth of equipment. We believe very passionately in the camera. We've on our second firmware update within 4 months of release. We've addressed a lot of things that we've received criticism and feedback from the users. So in terms of the feature set, in terms of adding extra value for the better dynamic range with the expanded one format, we've got the video LUT internally now so you can monitor correctly and take advantage of that better dynamic range. We have more features at the higher ISOs as well, which we know people were really interested in too. So in order to try and back that up, we're saying, get in touch with us, you fill out the form, no money changes hands, we will send you a kit for your shoot. Now that's whether you're shooting a high-end commercial project or you're just a straight shoot, you've got something coming up, you want to run with it. Make money off it. We don't really mind. This is the point. Put it in people's hands and let you make your own opinion. If you want to keep it, you can buy it. If you don't, well, you're going to send it back and we're going to listen to why. So we think that's very important.
So really the hope is you want people to use the cameras and make up their own mind about...
Absolutely, yeah, wherever possible. I think we're trying to put out as compelling an argument as possible in terms of the footage. We have great partners out there and adopters who are shooting with it, and the new showreel that we put up on Vimeo today, I think reflects a lot of things people wanted to see. What I have to say is the great shame is we had a ton of stuff arrive in the last 2 days over the weekend that we've had no time to turn around. So as NAB dies down, we'll be pushing more and more footage out there, but in the meantime, if you want to have a go, let us know. We can get one in your hands literally within a few days. So I think that's going to be exciting, seeing what people do with it.
So I just want to go back to the firmware just a little bit.
Yeah.
You give me just a rundown list of all the specific things, and I know ISO has been a thing that you guys were struggling with from the beginning, but now you've tried to address that in this firmware update.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in terms of what we've done with that is we're offering more features at the higher EI values. So more expanded gamma features within those, but critically not at the expense of noise or of things like pulse in the blacks. There are lots of things, you can jack an image out however you want. We could expand it out to 3000 and it wouldn't look great. The important thing is the offset between keeping that filmic rich look that we've got and then keeping that noise floor as low as possible. So we've done that. We know people, and we receive criticism for not having IRE levels that people were expecting to see. You put it on a video scope now, you'll be more familiar with the levels that you're seeing there. We were also challenged about holding the exposure in the highlights, and then if you overexpose there, color shifts in the white balance, all gone. So things that we've been criticized for, we've said, you know what, you're right, but we've dealt with it. Let's try this. So try this new firmware and see how you go with it. Alarms for if you're using interval record, you don't have to make any mistakes now, it'll tell you. We have a white balance alarm, so if you try an auto white balance and there's not enough value within the frame, it's going to tell you and go back to Unity. Things like that are really important. We're finding that the people that are getting hold of it, in so many areas, certainly quick turnaround commercial production, they love. And I mean, the word is love. The emails we get, the response we get, the footage we're going to be pushing out in the next couple of weeks will show that. And this is not from us, this is from other partners, you know. So we're really, really proud of that.
So now you've also introduced some things with third parties about recording.
Yes, very interesting. So words you probably thought this time last year I wouldn't be saying. Convergent Designs and Atomos. Give them both deference at the same time. With both of those partners, obviously, as you know, the camera ships without a viewfinder. Both those products include great quality monitoring as well as recording, and we're happy to say we're offering up AJA RAW as a mobile solution via both of those recorders. Interestingly as well, if you want DNxHR, the Shogun has it. So that's great for us. We love both products. It's two things I've used myself and we'll continue to test. If you go to Convergent Design's booth, you can see the RAW running now in acquisition. That gives people great flexibility. We love ProRes 444, but if it absolutely has to be RAW, you don't have to drag a TrueZoom system with you now. You can do it with that. For tethered use as well, we've offered it up with Kona 4 and IO 4K as well. So real high-end studio basis, it's a great integration. But for us, Convergent and Atomos offer something that we don't right now, and that's really strong. I think it's a good message for both those companies, and let people choose, because some people will want one over the other and they can choose.
Now, in terms of specs, I believe the Atomos is limited to 60, but the camera can stand on 120, so...
That's correct, yeah. With 120, you need to go over four 3G SDIs, so there's always going to be a limitation there. Till such a time as perhaps we make an adaptive way of outputting that, or they do. So work continues. I mean, as you see on the booth here, we have many partners here, people like Tweak, everyone now knows them for RV or Autodesk. Those guys are in our booth. Those kind of high-end partners, Cisco and so on, along with Convergent, all benefit from what goes on internally with us, which is engineering connectivity over our SDK. They can challenge us over something and they get a response immediately. So we know what they want to achieve, we can help them with, and that's vital, you know. And that road is just beginning for those guys, and they're loving it so far.
So now, in terms of feedback, I mean, how much do you really listen to customers in terms of what they're saying they want, and how quickly do you think you can turn those specific things around?
We genuinely have lists. The requests come in and they're talked about internally, and then we prioritize what do you think. It's two things: which is achievable quickly, and a good example of this is we had a criticism about the interval record literally 10 days ago. Someone had lost some footage because they'd engaged the mode but then had not disengaged it, so they were doing time lapse for a few hours on a shoot. And by engaging those customers, that's now a feature. So that was turned around quickly because we could do it. If we can turn it on, we will. If it takes a little longer, it joins the process.
In the future, you may explore using potentially other sensors or maybe other bodies, but could you talk a little bit about maybe in the future? Yeah,
I mean, this is AJA's first camera. We are new as anybody in the market, and there are competitors out there who do similar products that we do elsewhere, have been making cameras for longer than us. This is the beginning of the process for us, and I think we take everything we've learned, and yeah, I do hope that we'll have something further down the line. Again, I can't really talk about that right now, but I would like to think that everything that we build on, that we learn on now in this process, goes into whatever the next phase of AJA and camera development is.
No, and absolutely, and I think one of the interesting things was finding out that the development of this camera was actually so long, that it had been in development, you know, 5-6 years before actually.
Yeah, I mean, kind of phenomenal, and I think we just had to be so careful. I think we have a good reputation in so many other areas, and then we suddenly want to be a camera manufacturer. It's tread carefully. We had very specific goals in mind, and I think to achieve those goals has taken a long time. And you're right, some of those things you imagine before you release, this is fine, and then you realize the feedback of the user is the most important thing. Listening to that and having an ear to that, to go back to your other point about how we do it, so important, so vital to the next phase. 1.2 is a list of things we were asked for. It really was. I mean, the IRE was, we're like, well, you know, look at it. It looks like film. What's your problem? You want a higher IRE level? We have to do that. So I think that kind of development carries on. It really does. Super important.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.